there. I am just enjoying a nice warm bowl of soup, which is perfect for a cold day like today. And today for our craft time, we are going to be making our own bowls, or pots, I should say, of alphabet soup. So this is the craft today. It is a pot with the two handles on either side, oops, and it's got all kinds of yummy things simmering in a warm broth with some noodles and some letters of the alphabet. So this craft is super easy, and you can use all kinds of fun stuff that you might have around your house, like some dry noodles or pieces of ribbon or stickers or plastic spoons or anything that you can think of. I came up with some ideas, but I'd love to see what you guys can come up with that you could include in your own bowl of alphabet soup. So let's get started. So the things you're going to need for today's craft are pencil, some scissors, use a hole punch, and this is optional, or I have this cool little circular sort of hole punch that makes little circles. I've got some ribbon, and I picked out a color that kind of reminds me of noodles, so you could use that. You're going to need a nice bottle of Elmore's school glue, because that really helps in affixing the noodles to your bowl of soup. You're going to need some letters. So these are those magnet letters that a lot of people have on their refrigerator. And if you don't have any letters to make your alphabet soup, you can certainly cut letters out of construction paper or draw them into your bowl of soup yourself. You don't need to use alphabet letters. And then I also raided my pantry and got all kinds of different shaped noodles. So this is like a penne noodle. And these are the little, I don't know, I call them spiral noodles, but I don't think that's what they're officially called. And I don't even know what these ones are called, but they're kind of fun too. They look like a parking garage ramps that circle around to go up to the different floors. So we've got those. Those are all the noodles I have, but you can use whatever you have on hand. You could use spaghetti noodles. You could use elbow macaroni noodles, the wagon wheel noodles. Those ones are fun. And lastly, you're going to need some construction paper. So I have black or gray construction paper for my pot. And then I have a yellowish, or you could use a tan or manila or brown or beige construction paper for your soup broth. And then I have some other random pieces of construction paper that I could use to cut out noodles or vegetables. In our example, I used my little hole punch to make what I kind of imagined were peas floating in my soup. So you can use whatever colors you have on hand and whatever materials you have on hand. And finally, I have a paper plate that I'm going to be using just to trace the shape of my pot and the broth that goes in the soup. And I think that's it. It's kind of a long list today, but it's a lot of things that you probably already have in your pantry. Oh, and finally, I have a plastic soup spoon that I got from our pantry upstairs. And if you have a spoon on hand, you can use a plastic one like this to glue to your soup. So let's get started. All right, I'm going to adjust the camera down so you can see what I'm doing. And the first thing I'm going to do is take my paper plate and put it right in the middle of my black construction paper. I'm going to just trace around my circle like this. Oops. Round and around we go. And you don't have to use a paper plate to trace your bowl. You can use, or your pot, you can use whatever you have that would make a nice big circle, because you want a nice big pot of soup because it is cold and it's going to get colder this week and you want to stay warm. Nothing warms you up like a nice bowl of soup. Other good thing about soup, which some of the caregivers who are watching might enjoy, is that you can make it once and it can feed you for many days. Okay, so I've got my pot cut out, my nice circle. And if you remember, my pot had handles. So they're kind of like, I'll show you from the back, like a little C shape. A little bigger and a little more squared off, but you can certainly be creative with your shape of your handles. And so to do that, I just use the scrap left over from my pot, and I'm just going to cut up off those little hangy things, and then I can cut out. Actually, if you fold it in half, you can use it to cut out your handles, and if you just cut it once, then you'll have two handles, which will be perfect for your pot. So I've got the outside, and now I'm going to cut the inside, which is just the same shape, but leaving a little thickness for the pot. So voila, I've got two handles for my pot, and I'm going to use my glue stick to glue them on the back of my pot really quickly. So you take your glue stick, a little glue here for one part of the pot, and a little glue there. Oops. Okay, there we go. And a little glue there. All right, so I'm going to set that aside so it can sort of dry while I'm making the broth. Oops. I'm going to line up my glue with my pot handle. So I'm just going to put that to the side and let that dry. So then I'm going to take whatever I used to trace my pot, and I'm going to use that same thing to trace my broth. So I'm just going to go around in a big circle again. Oops. I like the paper plate because if I draw on it, it doesn't matter. Okay. Now you want your broth to be smaller than your pot so that the edge of your pot is visible. So what you're going to do is you're actually going to cut just inside, maybe like a 1/4 inch inside of the line that you traced, so that your broth can be fit inside your pot. So I'm just going to go on the inside like that, and just follow the line approximately, leaving a little bit between where I'm cutting and where my line that I'm tracing is. I'm trying to follow my circle shape as best that I can, but you just do the best that you can, and that will be just fine. All right, so I've got my circle of broth. So it looks like my pot has had a little time to dry. The glue has turned purple. I'm just wiping off some excess glue. It has changed from purple to clear. So I'm going to flip it over so the side that the handles are not glued to. And I'm just going to use my glue stick and put a lot of glue on the back of my broth. So I've got a good amount of glue on the back of my broth, and I'm going to try to just center it on in my pot. All right, let's get that stuck down, smooth it out, and now comes the fun part. Now we get to decorate or put in our ingredients in the pot. So what should we put in our alphabet soup? Well, we've got a lot of different options. I raided the pantry and got all those noodles, so let's start with that. So I'm gonna get all my noodles out. And this is fun. They're all fun shapes. And what you're going to do is you want to use the Elmer's glue or the school glue for this, because it is better in gluing on things that are irregular shapes and that are hard. The glue stick doesn't have any height to it, so it can't kind of get in those crevices and attach them to the broth like the school glue can. So you're going to put a nice, see if I can get, that's the one thing that's so annoying about this glue, is that the tip clogs up. You think the 50 years or so or whatever that this glue has existed, that they could have invented a better tip that doesn't clog up so easily. All right, there we go. So you can see it's like a little, got some height to it. So when I attach my noodle, the glue squeezes up in between and adheres to the little shapes. So I'm just going to put my noodles anywhere in the pot. They're all mixed together like soup floating around. So I will not bore you with watching me glue a lot of noodles in the pot, but you get the idea. You can also use ribbon to be noodles. I've got some brown, or I guess this is supposed to be gold ribbon, that plasticky ribbon that I'm sure is really bad for the environment. And I'm going to cut it into short little pieces. So those can be noodles too. It's actually pretty close to the color of the real noodles. So you can glue those on if you don't have any noodles at home. But if you don't, I advise that you get some, because pasta is another really easy dish to make. So I'm gluing those on because I just want to have all kinds of different things in my bowl of soup. That's one of the fun things about soup. And now I'm going to take my alphabet letters that I have now, that are the magnets. If you don't have any, you can just cut them out, or you could take markers and just draw them on. So I'm going to take this big old M and draw an M as close as I can to the real M, so that there's glue on underneath it, and stick it right in my bowl of soup like so. I've got a C for Carrie, and I'm going to try to draw a C with my glue and stick it in. If I didn't do it exactly, I can rub the glue around. And finally, I've got an S. So I will stick an S for snow, maybe. I'll stick it over here, right at the edge. Okay, I've got my alphabet letters in my bowl of soup. Now I'm going to take my spoon, and I'm just going to use the glue to attach it right at the edge of my pot. Sort of the spoon. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to put some glue on the sort of base of the rounded part of the spoon, and again at the handle of the spoon. Make sure I have enough and that it's attached. So you're going to definitely have to let this dry before you get to put it up in the refrigerator or show it off. I found these cool yellowish orangey dots. Maybe they're more orange than yellow, but I thought that'd be cool as kernels of corn or maybe slices of carrot. And I'm going to stick some of those in my soup so we can add some vegetables for nutrition. We definitely want to make sure we're getting all our vitamins and minerals in our soup. So there we go. Lots of little slices of tiny carrots. Maybe those are baby carrots that you have that you can slice up and stick into the soup. And then lastly, I just want to show you this cool little stamp hole punch thing that we can use on my green paper. And you could use that if you have one of these at home, or if you don't, you might have a hole punch. So we can do it with both. The hole punch ones are a little smaller, so they might be hard for some of your tiny hands, but it will be fine. And I'll make some with my hole punch. We have all kinds of different shapes of these, hearts and stars and flower shapes, back in the craft closet here at the library, which is pretty cool. So I've got these little dots, if you can kind of see them, and I'm going to glue those to in my soup. And those, I imagined, are little peas. Now, I thought also a fun thing that would be fun to do is if you wanted to get advanced with it, you could cut out actual shapes of different vegetables. So you could draw sort of a carrot shape, a little tiny carrot, and cut out that to include in your soup, so you could actually have the shape of different and color of different vegetables if you want to make more of a vegetable type soup. But I focused on alphabet soup today, so I have a little carrot a tiny carrot, and I can stick that in my soup too. If there's space for it. Let's see where it's going to go. There we go. And if you could be really creative and come up with all kinds of different vegetables that you can try to cut out of your construction paper or even draw on. And when it's all finished and dried, it will look something like this. And then you too can enjoy your own bowl of warm soup on a cold winter's day. I like to hunch over it so I can feel the steam rising up onto my face and warm my whole body up. So I hope you guys are staying warm out there. I hope you tune in next week for the next craft and that you got to see Rachel's story time. And we will be back here 10:30 next week. Everyone have a good week. Stay warm and eat your soup and eat your veggies. Talk to you soon. Bye.